Hi guys, my name is
Hi.
Erika Montalvo. I'm from Puerto Rico and I am the creator behind Lunes De Sed.
Well, welcome to Shakespeare and Mingle. We're happy to have you.
Thank
We
you.
want to learn all about your journey. How did you become an influencer on Instagram? Let me hear all about it.
Oh, man, that's weird. I tell people that might have been my midlife crisis. Yeah, some people are like, I don't think you've ever had a midlife crisis, and I'm like, I'm a 34-year-old influencer now. Yeah, no, and don't get me wrong, I freaking love it. It's really fun. Fun fact, I've never been a bartender.
Okay.
I've never been a server. I've never worked in the industry before.
Okay.
I'm actually a civil engineer and land surveyor, and that's what I've always worked on my whole life. So for the
Yeah.
past, I don't know, 10, 11 years. Yeah, I've had a very nerdy math job in a computer. Counteract that, I've always really been into cocktails and into the cocktail world. Like even
Yes.
back then when, uh, so in Puerto Rico, this started. Cocktails became like a thing, or like they were like reborn after the creation of La Factoria, which was, I think it's gonna be about 11, 12 years ago.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So even before that, like when it was just starting, I would always try to put some money aside, some of my college money aside, and go try something new.
Okay.
Um, I've always had a creative side, so that's where the camera and video thing comes in, which
Okay.
has been all self-taught. And you put all of that in the mix with COVID, where we had
Right.
nowhere to
Right.
go and nothing to do. Yeah, I brought cocktails home, so I started practicing and kind of taking it seriously. Like making my own syrups,
Hmm.
using fresh juice, and try to
Mhm.
make it as real as possible. And I was like, shit, this tastes good. Like it's happening. Like I can do it. And then I've always wanted to create something, so I started learning about cameras and video editing because we
It's
had
a big
time.
part of
It's
it.
a big part of it.
It is, yeah. So it's not the same when, like, for example, I had a brand call me like, "Hey, I have this last minute thing. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Oh, so you don't have to hire someone?" I was like, "No, I do it all myself, which is a
Hmm.
lot of work, but
Right.
I can just drop whatever I'm doing and you know cater to them because I learned that. But yeah, it took me like 2 years before I actually, got a camera and before I started posting. I mean, I started posting with my phone, but
Right.
yeah, first
Well, I
videos are
mean, you don't
that.
have to be perfect to start, right?
So I have this friend that he's actually a videographer, and
Mhm.
he was like, just post the damn thing. Like, forget about learning how to just post
We
it.
need to talk to him.
Yeah, no, man, it was like, it was weird. He literally, like, kind of kicked me into it, and I was like, well, it's in the world.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like the greatest video ever. But yeah, now that I look at it, it's just sad and
Oh,
funny.
stop.
No,
Stop.
no.
I heard or read this somewhere, and I really put it into practice, and I think it's the best thing I've ever done. And it was
Mhm.
like, I want to be 1% better every time I post a video.
Hmm.
And it's been about 3 years, so I'm like 1,000% better now from
Yeah.
where I started. And it
Mhm.
was really cool because it was like, today I'm gonna worry about using better materials.
Hmm.
Next video, I'm gonna worry about having better audio. I hope in a few more years I look back and to this and I'll be like, no, those videos were shit. These are better. So you know.
So tell us, you do it all yourself. You got into the mixing and you were never a bartender. How did you come about learning the recipes, what tastes good, what doesn't, what goes into your process?
Well, so I started following a bunch of, which is something that also helped. I started following all of these like YouTube influencers. The ones that I really like, they all said the same, which was learn the classics. So I started learning the classics. Like I really love an old fashioned, but I didn't know that's one of the first cocktails ever created.
Yeah.
So I really got into because nerdy. Started learning all about the history and why this spirit with this thing or with this syrup or fruits or etc. So I really did learn the classics, and I mean, there's a bunch, but let's say I know maybe about 40, or I can recognize them. So when you look at a cocktail and a menu, if you really look at it, you can see that it comes from a classic. Like you'll see something with whiskey and fruit and liqueurs and blah blah blah, but when you really look at it, it's just a variation on a whiskey sour or a
Okay.
variation on a paper plane, which comes from a last word. Like it's not for me. It's not so much about flavor, but because that's like super relative to everybody, every palate. So like maybe something I think goes very well together. You won't like it, or I don't know otherwise. So I really focus on learning the classics and how they work and their original ratios, like their original recipes, and then I like extrapolate from there.
So you talked about your Puerto Rican heritage. How are you putting your spin on things? You know, representation is a big part of everything, especially for people to go online and see you doing your thing and making your cocktails. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, staying true to yourself is really important.
Yeah, for sure. So this started as a hobby. I would never ever think that someone would be crazy enough to put me like behind the bar. I broke a lot of glass. I'm sorry, guys.
You
From
did you?
Antigua Ventisei, this amazing bar in Puerto Rico, and they were like, "Yeah, we want you," and I was like, "Are you sure?" Like, I've never been a bartender, and they were like, they helped. Again, this started as a hobby, so I was like, I don't have to have like perfect pronunciation or, So Puerto Ricans, I don't know how many Puerto Ricans but our Spanish is special. So yeah, the Spanish is super fast. We have a lot of Spanglish, like we say sandwich, parking, hamburger. We've never used those words in Spanish, and we have a lot of slang. And I was like, this is a hobby. This is for my friends that follow me. So whatever, I'm just gonna talk how we talk. I'm not
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
overpronounce or use proper Spanish or whatever. So if I don't know a word, if I don't know it in English or Spanish, but I say can't think of one right now, but yeah, I won't translate it to Spanish if we
Yeah.
typically say it in English, etc.
Right.
And that, so I didn't notice what I was doing until someone told me, hey, if you want to go big, you got to switch to English. And everybody has been telling me, like, you got to switch to English, you got to do it, or you got to at least do half and half, or blah, blah. And that's when I noticed, like, oh shit, nobody or very little people actually do this type of niche, content in Spanish.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I mean, there might be some now that I haven't seen, but I think I'm the one like doing it like in
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, like cater to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it might be a small island, but there's a bunch of them. So yeah, and I've had really good feedback. I mean, I'm under 10,000 followers, but I don't think that matters because I've got like so much feedback. My
Listen,
videos get a lot of views.
someone saw your content on our channel and they said, I don't know what she said, but it looks so delicious.
Yeah, that has happened many times. So the people that I work with, again, engineers, surveyors, super unrelated to social media, they start saying to people like, "Oh, you gotta follow her page," and I was like, "Guys, professional space," and they're, "You don't get what she's saying, but she's so charismatic," and it was like, "Oh, thank you. That's the nice
Oh
compliment."
man, I love it.
Yeah, they're like, "I don't know what she's saying, but follow her." I was like, "Oh, that's really cool."
You know what? And it's not so much your responsibility. I mean,
No, it's not.
I love seeing you be you,
Yeah.
and the right person is going to see your content and just be excited to be a part of it. What's the most rewarding part of it all for you?
The most rewarding part is, so when some random person that I don't know sends me a DM or sends me or puts a comment like, "Oh, I bought this ingredient that you mentioned," or "I tried this cocktail because you told me to," or the best one I think is like when they tell me, "Oh, I went to that bar because you told me to," and because you said it, not you told me to, but you said it on a video.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, hell yeah, like educate people, like, hey guys, there's more to it. Like, go try new things. These are new
Yeah.
ingredients. Go to your favorite bar, try it. And now that I know, bartenders in Puerto Rico and bars and etc., it's like, go here, go to this guy, or
Yeah.
so that's very rewarding. And there was one particular time. So my dad is the type of guy that would do whiskey on the rocks or Cuba Libre, rum and coke.
Right.
Okay.
And one time he's like, you know what I did? And I was like, what? He's like, I did my Cuba Libre, rum, Coke, little lime, and I threw Angostura bitter in it. And I was like, weird, weird as hell, but and you liked it? Hell yeah! Like I did enjoy it. My dad had no idea what Angostura bitter was before
Uh-huh.
I brought it to the house. So
He's expanding his palate.
Yes.
yeah, dude, it
Cool.
was so great. And now the other day he called me. He's like, "So how do I make a simple syrup? I want to have an old fashioned at home." And I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, it's. I think that's the point for people to
Yes.
expand their
Yes,
palate and try new things.
exactly.
Absolutely. I'm sure they're super proud
Yes.
for
Yeah, they
you
think it's
following your
cool.
passion.
Yeah, my dad is like, now you want to be a bartender? Like, shit, I pay for college, but it's okay.
It's never too late to
Never too
learn
late.
a new skill to do something that you love.
No, no, I really, really love it. It's so much fun.
Can you speak a little bit to the challenges that you've encountered?
So, challenges, since this was a hobby at the beginning, now I'm taking it seriously. Since it started as a hobby, it was just, whatever I feel like, whatever I want to do. And it's still pretty much that. So, not challenging in the creative part of it, but more like since the video aspect of it, it's a new skill that I learned and it's self-taught. The challenges I encounter are like, how do I make it not boring? How do I keep people engaged? Which is a whole thing now, like my videos are a minute, but when you look into the insights, people watch on average like 14 seconds or some stuff
Yeah.
like something like that. So it's like, man, how can I make it that interesting in a few seconds? I recently changed my intro, and it's kind of a challenge that the video making of it. It's a challenge, but again, it's a fun one, so it doesn't even feel like it. It's more like a
Right.
game. Like, does this work? Does this doesn't? Blah blah blah. It's pretty cool. Okay, so I have fancy lights, fancy cameras, fancy mics. You don't really need that. You need
Yeah.
good lighting, which could be natural light, your kitchen, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The phone, an iPhone or an Android, sure. And that's it, man. Like, I mean, you want three? Well, get a glass or shaker, like your
Yeah.
whatever you're making the cocktail with. But if you have a phone and good light, you should be good to go. Yeah, it's more about moving your shots and making it interactive to the eye.
And so
And
that's
we're learning too.
Yeah.
We're learning from you too. Because we're doing all the video editing ourselves as well. So
Mhm.
any good tips you have are appreciated.
Oh well, you know what? A third thing could be the app CapCut.
Yeah.
That thing is so user friendly. I went all into like Final Cut Pro and learning all these fancy things, and then I got CapCut, and I was like, oh, look at that! I could have saved a year of learning and watching videos and trying. But yeah, that would be a good one, an easy app to cut your videos and put them together.
Yes, yes. So, all right, quick fire questions. What's your go-to cocktail for celebrations?
Something with bubbles, so probably French 75 or an old Cuban if I'm on a
nice. Nice.
rum thing.
Lovely. Is
Yeah.
there a cocktail ingredient that you can't live without?
Mm.
Man, I think Angostura bitters, they're so good and they would make everything taste good, I think.
If you were to describe yourself as a cocktail,
Oh god.
what
All right, Erica, let me hear.
what cocktail would you be and why?
I would say spicy margarita.
Okay.
Short
All
glass,
right, why?
fun, short glass. I'm pretty short. I'm like 5'2". So you get you. I live in Texas, man. People are all tall here. I'm like tiny. In Puerto Rico, I'm like average size. Here,
Right,
I'm like
right.
tiny. Anyway, back to the spicy margarita. It's a short glass. It has the salt or tahini on the rim, so it's kind of interactive, so it's fun. And you get fresh and spicy, kind of like my personality, some savoriness. Fun.
Okay.
It's fun. I'm fun.
Nice.
Or I like to think I'm
Nice.
fun. I don't know.
All right, take us into your kitchen. Let's see what you can cook up for us.
You can rarely do a cocktail without lemon or lime.
Okay.
Unless you want to go super spirit forward. I have a kiwi. Gotta bring barrilito. One of Puerto Rico's rum from my town, Bayamon. It's so delicious. Let's put a twist on a classic. This is Demerara syrup,
All right.
and this is a dishwasher. There's always a jigger in it. All right, so let's make a classic that never fails anyone. Let's make a Kiwi Daiquiri. It's so
Oh, nice. A lot of fun. Okay.
easy,
Had
fun,
Kiwi
fresh.
Daiquiri before?
Never had that before, right?
I wish you were here.
I know. Right? I'm ready to come to Texas.
I'm excited. I'm gonna be drinking this before coffee. It's gonna be a fun day. I hope. So I cut the kiwi, went into the shaker. We're gonna juice this lime. Where's my juicer? Because the kitchen is here. Alright. When people juice it into the shaker, I like to go. Oh, you guys can see me. I look great squeezing lemons. Alright. We're gonna go here. How I typically do equal parts because you gotta balance that sour and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do 3/4 of lime. Let's get 3/4. Oh, actually, I'm gonna go a little less here because this is Demerara syrup and it's a rich one or semi-rich. It's 2-to-1. And best rum ever. One of the many great rums of Puerto Rico. Barrilito Tres Estrellas. Rum made in my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that makes it learned how to make cognac. I'm gonna go 2 ounces here because I haven't had coffee. This guy learned how to make cognac and then took that and started making rum, and that's why it's rated with stars. That's how cognac is rated. Model the kiwi. Get that flavor. Now we ice. I always have frozen coops in my freezer.
She's a professional, right?
There's 2 things that are always in my freezer, and that's frozen coops and clear ice that I cut.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it.
All right, now we shake and strain. Wait, you didn't see it. Fun. Strain my. Man, I think this is gonna be really good. Really into it. All right. Salud.
Salud. Salud.
I said I'm sorry. You don't get to taste it. It's so delicious.
I know.
Yes, feel bad for us.
The dark rum and the demerara go very well, and the kiwi it's there. It's a daiquiri. Who doesn't like a daiquiri? But I did go to their distillery, and you get to do a tour of his house.
Oh wow.
And because he lived in the place where he had the sugarcane and the distilleries there, etc. Wild thing I learned about this rum in particular, the guy was a civil engineer and a licensed surveyor as well. It's crazy, right?
Can't make this up, right?
Yeah, can't make this up. I made a drink with that rum for my first guest shift in Puerto Rico, and I called it the Old Surveyor. I was making 2 drinks. Yeah. I was making 2 drinks, 2-drink menus. So the first one is a classic, an old Cuban, and I was like, let's make an Old Surveyor because we're buddies, we're surveyors.
I love it.
Right.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's a special story. Yes.
Definitely.
That's super cool.
Yeah, in the video, the guy had in the house like a super old book that it was said in Spanish, the Surveyor Manual, and it has some vintage like survey equipment. I was like freaking out. You know what crazy thing happened after I created that cocktail? I did it in my shift, and then I posted a video about it, and then I got hired by College of Engineers and Professional Engineers and Surveyors, which is where I'm licensed through in Puerto Rico. And I went to a conference that they make because I needed, the continued education for the license.
Right.
Blah, blah. And they ended up hiring me, and I served the Old Surveyor. I prepped like 100 and something, or 125, and like I went back home with like 8.
Wow, Erika.
I made a lot of Old Surveyors that day.
Oh my goodness.
These are such
Incredible.
cool connections.
Yeah.
You know, you never know where life is going to take you. But this
It's been a wild
midlife
ride.
crisis that you call it, I mean,
It's
it
a good one.
was meant to be.
It's crazy. No, yeah, it's pretty. That rum is dear to my heart. It's also
Yes.
delicious, but yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes, we are so happy, like I said, that you're a part of our community.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You're going to keep seeing her, so get used to it.
Instagram now has like automated closed captions.
Oh, bet.
Oh, the way it translates the slang is
It's
so bad. It's hilarious. So in Puerto Rico, we call a drink like a cocktail. We call it un palo, as in a stick. So it's saying like, now let's go make the stick. Do you like my stick? This is the stick. It's freaking fun, really.
We're going to give it a little bit of time. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to share with the community who will be watching this video?
Yeah, so in November, this November, second week of November, it's Puerto Rico Cocktail Week, and I'm gonna be there, and I will be doing a guest shift in one of my favorite bars. I will do the official announcement next month, but
Okay.
yeah, Puerto
Oh,
Rico
that's
Cocktail Week is
wonderful.
the next stop. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome. Well, you know we're always here, and we'll always be posting for
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so
Erika.
much,
Thank you
guys.
for joining us. You go enjoy that cocktail and your coffee afterwards.